I believe deeply that we all have that sparkle within us, and it looks different for every one of us, but it's there for you, for me, for your best mom friend, for all of us. And I believe that there are small intentional changes we can make in our life to nurture and to protect that sparkle. Welcome to the Sparkle Project. I'm Emily, a divorced mom of two on my own journey to shine a little brighter. This podcast is here to help you protect your sparkle amidst the chaos and impossible expectations of modern motherhood. If you're a mom ready to choose yourself and shine, you are in the right place. Let's dive in. Hello, I am Emily, and this is the very first episode of the Sparkle Project. This podcast was formerly Worthy Mother Podcast for over 3 years, and it was time for a change. It was time for an evolution. And I am so excited for you to be here with me as we set foot on this bolder, brighter journey with the Sparkle Project. So to briefly reintroduce myself for anyone who's new here or needs a little bit of a recap, I'm Emily. I am a single mom of two. I also hold a certification in motherhood studies and am pretty obsessed with understanding and talking about the social context that we are mothering in and just growing as people in, and how that context really impacts our experiences. Examining and exposing the unrealistic expectations of moms has always been a goal of this podcast. But really, since going through my divorce and setting foot on my own journey to shine a little brighter through it all, I have become really, really passionate about talking about identity and motherhood and how we can protect our sparkle. And that is where the Sparkle Project was born. When I talk about the sparkle, I'm talking about the essence each of us has, the energy, the joy, the sense of fulfillment that exists within us. It's this sense of who we are when we feel good in our life. And so often as mothers, that sparkle is kind of dimmed in a way. We think about this idea of, quote, losing yourself in motherhood. That to me is the sense of losing this sparkle. And sometimes it's about getting that sparkle back, but sometimes the sparkle wasn't even there to begin with. We've just gone through our lives in autopilot, and we don't even really know who we are before we become moms. For me, that was my experience. I had my first son at 23. I was still figuring out who the heck I was before having kids. And when I became a mom, there was no sense of self to get back to, really. So this journey to find my sparkle and to retain that sparkle and protect it for all that it's worth has really not been about getting my sparkle back, but really finding my sparkle in the first place. And because I know that this experience of feeling lost and really all consumed in motherhood is not unique to me, so many of you have experienced this as well, I feel like it's time that we start talking about not just the experience of raising kids, not just the experience of being a mom, but the experience of finding who we are, of really tapping into our inner knowing of what we want, what we believe, and living from that place, living from our sparkle. And it might sound a little cheesy, but honestly, at this point in my life, I'm here for it. I'm here for the big, bold cheesiness of the Sparkle Project. Consider this evolution a glow up of sorts. It goes hand in hand with the glow up I have faced in my own life post-divorce, and I am so excited and honored to take you along for the ride. Because I believe we deserve more than just survival. We deserve to shine within and beyond motherhood. Week after week, we will be having really important conversations about self-discovery, identity, mental health, existing in the systems of patriarchal motherhood and how that impacts us as individuals and as a collective. But in this episode today, I really just want to give you a taste of what the Sparkle Project is all about and why it is so relevant for you. Why these conversations are conversations that really matter for you and your identity and well-being through the journey of motherhood. And I want to start by sharing a little bit more about my personal story. So like I said, I had my first son when I was 23. It was an unexpected pregnancy, and while I had been with his dad for about 5 years prior, we were definitely not in a phase where we were ready to have kids, and that was something we were talking about. I was in school getting my teaching credential, and we had just moved back to our hometown. We're trying to settle into place, and all of a sudden, we were parents. And fortunately for us, we had a ton of family support. My parents are incredible and there was extended family who was just around. We were really well supported. But the fact of the matter was, we were kind of thrown into these new roles at a time where, for me, I didn't have my identity figured out. I was still very much figuring out who I was supposed to be in this world, and now was in charge and responsible for raising another human being. And I did it. It was great. And then, of course, when our child was 18 months old, the pandemic hit. And so, again, as a collective, I think every mother out there, especially mothers who were becoming first time moms during that time, right? If you had little ones at home or you were pregnant and having a baby, which I did with my second child during the pandemic, the world shut down and we were all collectively like, how do we exist when we're not existing in relation to others and our roles in the way that we always have, the way that we were taught to? It was like an identity crisis on a global scale, in a sense. And mother has really took the brunt of the impacts of the pandemic in a lot of ways, with having to navigate careers and childcare and the fears of raising young children in a world that didn't feel safe at all. Like the implications of that on identity, mental health, career success, and outcomes, it's really quite profound. And I definitely, during that time, found myself questioning what I was doing, questioning the career I was in, and knowing that I wanted something more for my life, but didn't know what that looked like and didn't know what was possible. So I kept on teaching, went back to the classroom, and kind of stepped into this role as a mom and wife with 2 kids and a job, going through the motions and really just surviving. But while doing all of that, I became really fascinated with learning about the experiences of mothers from a social context, understanding from really a feminist perspective how the expectations on women to become moms and then exist in motherhood in a specific set of ways really impacts our abilities as individuals to feel fulfilled and feel like we are good with where we're at in life. There are so many mothers who feel this sense of dissatisfaction or feel like there's something more for them out there or feel completely overwhelmed by all of the responsibilities. There are so many things that we experience really on that collective level, even though our individual experiences and how that kind of manifests in our life is different. But these experiences that we face, it was really interesting to me how universal it felt. And I didn't feel okay with just settling for this life where I wasn't really happy with what I had. I always knew I wanted to be a mom. I always knew I wanted a stable, steady career. And once I had that all, it didn't feel good. It didn't feel satisfying. And I loved my kids. I loved being a mom. But there was something missing and I couldn't figure out what that was. So understanding kind of the societal context and the fact that like so many moms feel like this was life-changing for me. And it led me into getting a certification in motherhood studies with Dr. Sophie Brock out of Australia and really like just pouring my heart and soul into learning more and more and more about the study of motherhood, about the experiences of mothers around the world from really academic perspective. And I started Worthy Mother podcast, and I brought these conversations with incredible guest experts to the surface, and I've had so many listeners tune in over the past 3 years. But in the summer of 2024, my kid's dad and I separated. And this is a relationship that I had been in since I was 17, and at the time I was 29. So you can imagine, like, I didn't even know who I was outside of that relationship. And obviously, that separation was absolutely terrifying for a number of reasons. But looking back, I can see how having that moment to look around my life and wonder what I needed to feel truly fulfilled in my day-to-day and in kind of the legacy I was creating, I feel so grateful to have had the opportunity to really intentionally do that at 29 years old. So fast forward to the summer of 2025. I had really done a lot of work in the year before, understanding my patterns of feeling like I was too much and dimming down my too muchness to just kind of be. And as I was stepping into this version of myself that was more authentic, more true, more unapologetic to who I actually am, I had this itch that Worthy Mother podcast needed to follow suit. Not because I wasn't absolutely loving the conversations that I was having, not because the mission was unaligned, but really because I was growing and evolving and going through this glow up of sorts. And I needed this platform that I had built so intentionally to grow and evolve and face a glow up along with me. And that is where the concept of the Sparkle Project was born. And so it has been a very, very intentional 5 months of planning this shift and recording new upcoming episodes and really developing my voice and what I want to speak about and how I want to say these things out loud to you. And again, a bolder, more unapologetic way so that we can all step into the lives we want to live and really not sugarcoat the challenges of motherhood, not sugarcoat the fact that we're all up against these unrealistic expectations, and we can't really change the expectations that society has on us. I mean, we can, but not in any quick, meaningful way. And so it's really about the internal work of understanding what those societal expectations are and doing our best to have boundaries around that and not let those expectations dictate how we live our lives, because that's where we get caught in feeling that dissatisfaction, in feeling like there's something missing, in feeling like we're not enough or we're too much. And I am so laser focused on my mission of bringing these conversations to you, of bringing these conversations to moms everywhere, so that if you want to step into a new version of yourself where life feels satisfying, life feels fulfilling, you have the support to do that and the validation to know that it's not always easy. And if you are on your own journey to find your sparkle or to protect your sparkle because the world is constantly trying to dim it, that you are here in a space where we are all doing the same. I will have guests on the show talking about self-discovery, talking about nurturing our mental health, talking about reclaiming our identity that so many of us can't seem to reconnect with in motherhood. We will talk about friendships. We will talk about personal style. We'll talk about inner child healing. We will talk about self-care. We will talk about anything relevant in the pursuit of protecting our sparkle. And I hope that every week this podcast feels like permission to be yourself, to pour into yourself, and to, yes, show up as a mom, but to also show up as the whole version of you and for that whole version of you. Because I have talked to enough moms to know that it is far too easy to lose touch with ourselves in this whole thing. And I want you to think about that for a moment. I want you to reflect on your own life and your own motherhood journey. Do you feel like there's a sense of losing yourself in motherhood? Do you feel like you ever really knew who you were before becoming a mom? So many of us have faced good girl conditioning our entire lives where we don't even really know what we like or what we want because so many of our decisions along the way to create this ideal life came from making others happy, from following the expectations from society. And of course, if what we've built isn't aligned with like our deep internal values and more aligned with the values of what society says we should want, it's not going to feel satisfying. It's going to feel like something's missing. So if you can relate, you're in the right place. And I want you to rest assured that it is totally normal to feel pulled in different directions. It's totally normal to feel like, okay, I am a mom. I like being a mom. I love my children, but I want to be more than a mom. And it's totally normal to feel unsure about your identity and what to do first in the pursuit of figuring it all out. But I believe deeply that we all have that sparkle within us, and it looks different for every one of us, but it's there for you, for me, for your best mom friend, for all of us. And I believe that there are small intentional changes we can make in our life to nurture and to protect that sparkle. And this podcast is made to be a guide and a companion for you along that journey. So that is what the Sparkle Project is all about. I am so excited that the time is finally here to get to share this with you all and to see where we go from here. I have such incredible conversations coming to you over the next few months. So many of those conversations have already been recorded and they're sitting waiting for you. Please make sure that if you are interested in coming along on this ride, that you are subscribed to the podcast wherever you listen. We're on YouTube as well as the regular podcast platforms. If you want to support the show, leave a rating and a review. I appreciate it so, so much. You can follow along on Instagram at the Sparkle Project Pod, and you can also follow my account at Honestly Emily Rose, where I share more general motherhood content. And if you have another mom in your life who you think would benefit from these conversations, please go ahead and share the podcast with her. Thank you so much for being here. Again, I am just like bouncing off the walls with excitement to finally get to share this with you, and I am so excited for what is to come. With that, keep on shining. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of The Sparkle Project. Loved what you heard? Share this episode with a friend, and don't forget to leave a rating and review to show your support for the show. We'll be back next week with another episode. See you then.